Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and welcome to What is Wednesday, where we break down web development topics each Wednesday. Try to do so in kind of plain English pretty quickly without going too in depth to confuse people who don't know what they are. So if you already know what this thing is, you don't need to watch this video. Sometimes people come into these videos and they already know what the thing is, and then they'll say, why didn't you provide this kind of detailed background context and information on this particular thing that I know a lot about? And honestly, it's not for you. This video is for people who don't know this thing. So what are we talking about today and what is Wednesday? Well, we're talking about ESBuild. What is ESBuild? Maybe you've seen it around. Maybe you've heard the words ESBuild. Maybe you don't know anything about ESBuild. Well, you may have noticed recently in the 2021 State of JavaScript survey, if I pop this open here, ESBuild was listed in one of the S tier library lists. And you know, whether or not you agree with these results or not, that's not what I'm talking about here. It's largely been one of these things that has shown up really kind of out of the blue last year in 2020 and has really seen large amounts of usage, satisfaction, interest, people really enjoying it. You can see that the interest in ESBuild went up by this survey's results, almost 10% from last year. And while you will see that it's still pretty low on the usage things, it went from 6% to 26%. Believe it or not, it went down, but not really down. It's very good. And you'll be seeing this a lot more this year. So what is ESBuild? Well, ESBuild is an extremely fast builder for JavaScript and bundler. It minifies, it compiles your older JavaScript code into code that the browser can understand for various browser targets. It takes TypeScript and turns it into JavaScript very fast, very fast. It takes JSX, turns it into JavaScript very fast. TSX, anything you could possibly imagine. TypeScript and JSX, source maps, minification, plugins, tree shaking of ES6 modules, ES6 and CommonJS. And the selling point, if you're looking at this and you're saying, should I use ESBuild or Parcel or Rollup or Webpack 5? Should I use any of these things? I think that this benchmarks chart should show you just what the overall reason for using something like this is. They say that this above this graph right here for how long it took was to production bundle 3JS. Now, if you've never used 3JS, let me tell you, 3JS is massive. It is a massive library. It's doing a lot of cool stuff, but it's still massive. And its production bundle of 10 copies of 3JS from scratch using default settings, including minification and source maps. And you can see it took less than a second. It took a quarter of a second. And I often say, don't trust the benchmarks from a site like this, right? Don't trust the benchmarks that the team who put out the benchmarks is saying, because of course they're going to say, we're fast, right? We're fast. Let me tell you, I've been using this in production for a long time now, over a year. And it is very fast. It is shockingly fast, especially if you come from the Webpack world. I don't know about the later versions of Parcel. I haven't used it in a little while. I've heard they're relatively fast as well. But ESBuild, in my experience, has been lightning fast all the time. And if you've used Vite, we actually did a What is Wednesday on Vite already. If you use Vite, you've used ESBuild, because Vite uses ESBuild behind the scenes to do some of its stuff. So what does it do? Well, it bundles for the browser. It bundles for Node. You pass it JavaScript or TypeScript files and it can spit out whatever kind of target you want, right? You can say even simultaneous platforms where you can say, hey, I want this to be out on these following platforms. There's a really nice API to this whole thing. In fact, we have our own custom script that runs the ESBuild process, including with a watch where you're watching files. And it's not exactly as turnkey as some other things. And maybe you're going to end up using a wrapper on top of ESBuild like Vite. But we personally use ESBuild strictly for our server-side API, and it's really good. The build API, all of this stuff is really good. You can run all of these things from the CLI as well. You can see what this looks like running from a CLI or from just straight up running from JavaScript. Like this is what ours kind of looks like. with some obviously different things. Like we have a GraphQL plugin and stuff. So this is in the same vein of tools as something like Webpack, something like even Gulp, maybe something like Parcel, any of those things. It's very lower level, but it is very, very good. You want to see what kind of stuff you can do, just take a look at this. Now, many people say, okay, I get it. It's good. It's fast. Why is it good? Why is it fast? This FAQ page does a really great job of explaining that. I can give you some bullet points here. Why is ESBuild so fast? Main reason, it's written in Go and compiled to native. And because of that, they say that most other bundlers are written in JavaScript, but the command line application is a worst case performance for a situation for a just-in-time compiled language. Every time you run the bundler, the JavaScript virtual machine is seeing your bundler's code for the first time without any optimization or hints. While ESBuild is busy parsing your JavaScript, Node is still parsing your bundler's JavaScript. By the time Node has finished parsing your bundler's code, ESBuild may have already exited. And in my experience, like, this holds up. This is very fast. There's also things where parallelism is used heavily, so it can compile in parallel. Everything is written from scratch. There's no old code in here. Yeah, I honestly don't know too much about Go myself. I haven't written a ton of Go. I know Go, what Golang is, but I haven't written a ton of it myself. Memory is used efficiently. And as you can see, they have quite a bit of benchmarks. Look at that. A tenth of a second to build a TypeScript, where something like Webpack 5 took 18 seconds, 19 seconds. Come on. In my experience, this has been the case. It is this fast, right? It is very much this fast. There's even a roadmap. This project's been around. It's been being updated. There's been all sorts of improvements. There's a dark and a light mode to the site even. But this is ESBuild, right? You can use this to transform your code for Node. You can use it to transform your code for the browser, or you can use it behind the scenes in something like Vite. And any way you use it, you're going to experience the speed of just how cool this thing is. I can't imagine coming from Webpack 5, getting, nearly 20 seconds down to a tenth of a second. And again, these are their own benchmarks. Do your own testing. But in my own testing, like I said, we use this in our application, and man, the site builds for production faster than you can even, that downtime you used to have building for production, it's gone. You don't have any downtime building for production anymore. So that's a great use case, but also now, when are you going to find time to, goof off on the internet, right? You can't do it with ESBuild, that's for sure. It's too fast. So this is ESBuild. This is what it is. This is why you would use it. Again, it's going to make the code that you're writing that might not work in all browser situations, or even things like JSX, TSX, TS that won't work in the browser at all. It's going to make them work in the browser by maybe minifying and compiling and moving them all into one file, all bundling them up into one file. It's very good. So give it a check out at esbuild.github.io. Again, you may not ever have to use this project as is, and you may just be using this in something like Vite, but it's a project worthy of your love and time. I love and use this project. So thank you to the ESBuild folks for putting this thing together. It's one of the best things that I've discovered in the past year. Now, if you want to discover things like this, head on over to leveluptutorials.com, where we have new code tutorials every single month, and there is new stuff all the time. Remix for Everyone shows you the brand new platform from the React Router folks that is a web-first platform. It makes working with server code endlessly easy, where you don't even have to think about it. Keystone.js with Amy Dutton. Amy is incredible, and she's a great teacher. SvelteKit with me. Accessibility for Everyone with Amy Kaepernick, who teaches accessibility, something that every single developer who's working in UIs needs to have in their tool belt. So this is it, leveluptutorials.com. If you like these videos, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you want to go, toss us some money for this kind of stuff, you can head on over to leveluptutorials.com, sign up to become a pro, and you'll get a year. If you want to sign up for the year, you can save 25%.